Hello everyone, and today we're going to change out our transmission fluid for our Nissan Frontier. Now this is a really easy job and you're going to save about $100 doing it, and it's going to be really quick and easy. So let's get started. And for our very first step is an easy one. We just need to warm up our vehicle. So we're going to drive it around just for about 10 to 15 minutes just to get that automatic transmission fluid up to temp. And we'll just take a quick look at our gauges just to make sure we got the warm and fuzzy. And looking at our coolant temperature, it looks like we're up to temp. So let's go ahead and wiggle our way under the vehicle. So I want to go under the driver's side door. I'm going to try to shimmy my way under there, so bear with me. And you don't have to do this, I'm just kind of checking. So I'm taking my temperature gauge and taking a look at it. About 120 degrees Fahrenheit, not too bad. So let's go ahead and turn off our vehicle. Go ahead and pop our hood, lift it up. And I'm going to start on the passenger side and bring the camera in. And I'm going to see if I can get it with some good lighting, so bear with me. And I'll try to go ahead and set that in place. And we're going to access that dipstick right there. And right next to it is also a bolt we're going to have to remove said dipstick. And all we need for that is a 10mm socket and socket wrench. And let's see if I can get my arm in there. We'll try to loosen this up. And there we go. And we'll go ahead and take it off by hand and try not to drop it. Yeah, so far so good. Let's set that aside. And now we can pull our dipstick and check our level. See if I can go ahead and pull this thing all the way out. And it's got a little bit of length to it, so bear with it. And there we go. And so far it doesn't look too bad, but the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and wipe it off. We want to make sure we get any of that excess fluid off of there and to make sure we get a nice clean start. So we'll go ahead and feed that dipstick right back in. And again, it's got some length, so bear with me. And then we'll take it out one more time. Let's go ahead and check our level. And I'll bring it in front of my camera. And yeah, that looks pretty close. Now you're going to see two indications on this dipstick. We have a hot side and a cold side. And on the hot side, it looks like it's within the hatch pattern area. That's what we want. So it looks like our fluid level is right where it needs to be. That's a good sign. Kind of gives us a good starting area. So that looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and wipe it off again. And we'll go ahead and put our dipstick back, because I think we can go ahead and start moving forward with this. And come on. 2 years later. And there we go. And before we start draining the fluid, I'm going to go ahead and show you the pan I have. Now this one has indication levels of how much fluid you put in the pan. So it goes up by quarts, so that's a kind of a good thing. You're going to need to know this for later on. So I'll go ahead and shimmy my way back under the vehicle. And I'm going to try to get everything set up so we can go ahead and see what we're doing. So let's grab a 19mm socket and socket wrench and go ahead and remove that transmission drain plug. And it shouldn't be too hard to get off. That was pretty easy to loosen. And we'll just make sure. Yep, felt pretty good. And this should come off by hand. It shouldn't be overly tight. And get a few of those threads out. And almost there. There we go. And we're going to have to let this drain for about 10 to 15 minutes. But get an idea how it looks. The fluid doesn't look too bad. It is a little dirty. You can see through it a little bit. But definitely needs to be changed. And of course, I like to take samples just for video purposes.
15 minutes later.
And it looks like about after 15 minutes, it looks like we're close enough to empty. So I'll take a shop towel and clean up the area. This does make a little bit of a mess, so go ahead and wipe off any excess fluid that may be left behind. And since it's been a while since we changed this fluid out, we're going to go ahead and do a few more flushes. So I want to go ahead and reinstall the drain plug just for now without replacing the crush washer. Now if you're doing this as a routine maintenance and you're good to go ahead and go to step 12 and replace that crush washer. But for now, we're going to go ahead and take our 19mm socket and socket wrench and go ahead and retightening up that drain plug. And then we're going to go ahead and torque it up to 25 foot-pounds. You don't ever want to over-torque these drain plugs because you could strip out the pan, and that can definitely lead to something very expensive. And there we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and work our way back outside the vehicle. I'm going to try to do this without spilling anything, so bear with me. And almost there. Yeah, fluid looks a little dark. Now let's go ahead and note how much fluid that was taken out, because whatever you take out, you got to put back in. And it looks like, let's see, that's 10 quarts, and that line's 5, so like, I don't know, 4.8 quarts, 4.75. I think we can easily work with that. And the ATF we're going to be using today is going to be this Max Life, because the system holds a little over 10 quarts, and it needs to be Matic S or Matic J. And if you look on the back of the bottle, and I'll try to zoom in, you can see right here it works with Matic D, J, K, and S, which is going to be perfect for any of our Nissan applications. And I'll also leave a link in the description for the product application PDF. So now that we have all the technicalities out of the way, we can refill our system. So we'll go and take that dipstick back out. Wipe it off, and we're going to set that aside just for now. And then we're going to go ahead and grab a small blue funnel. This is basically a transmission funnel. It's really thin at the very tip of it. So it makes it ideal to fit in the indicator pipe. And we're going to go very slowly, try to start refilling it. Now bear with me, I got a kind of a bad angle with where the hood is. Let's go ahead and turn it sideways, and there we go. So I'm not making too much of a mess now. And I want to go ahead and fill this up all the way to 4.5 quarts. So that's going to be basically a gallon and then half a quart. And that looks pretty good right there. Take our shop towel, clean up our mess. We don't want to have fluid all over our engine. And then we'll go ahead and take our funnel out, wipe it off. And so far so good. Everything's going pretty easy. So let's go ahead and reinstall our dipstick and get that in place. Then we'll take that same bolt. And I'm going to try to very gently screw that right back on. And I'm not going to go ahead and tighten it all the way. I'm just going to go ahead and snug it up. I don't really want it going anywhere. And just taking our 10mm socket, just get it a little bit snug. And of course, we're going to take our vehicle out for another drive. We want to make sure this fluid is still warm, as well as we want to make sure it's circulated throughout this whole system. We want to make sure every little bit gets mixed in together. And then we're going to go ahead and repeat the exact same steps all over again. We're going to go ahead and drain the system. Go ahead and take a sample, of course, because I always like to give you a little before and after. And while we're doing the final drain, let's go and replace our drain plug washer. Now, the really good thing about this is the same drain plug washer that you use on your oil pan as well. So you can basically buy a bag of these, and you could use it for both the transmission and your oil. And when we compare it to the oil change video, you can look at it. It's going to be the exact same process and procedure. There's nothing to it. And I'm pretty much just getting my knife right under the washer just because I don't really have fingernails. I basically just want to add a gap in there just so I can grab it. Then pretty much work that crush washer out. Almost there. Pretty simple. And now we can grab our new washer and go ahead and put it right back on that plug. And there is a particular orientation. It basically makes a cup, and you want to have that top of the rim of the cup go towards your pan. And all you got to do is go ahead and slide it on. It's going to be a nice snug fit, so you may have to screw it on just a little bit. And again, as you can see, it's the exact same washer and process for the oil change. So every other year, if you want to do your transmission and your oil change, just slide the pan back and do this process. Pretty simple. Well, with everything drained out, let's go ahead and install our drain plug with our new washer. I want to go ahead and start screwing that on. And there we go. Now this one with our 19mm socket, we're going to have to do a few more turns than usual just to crush that washer. And come on. There we go, nice and snug. And we'll grab our torque wrench, set to 25 foot-pounds. I'll try to get that on there and see if we can go ahead and tighten that up to spec. And one more turn. There we go. And let's go ahead and grab our shop towel and do one more wipe down. We want to make sure there's no little drips left behind. And now for the last refill. Again, this is going to be about 4.5 quarts roughly, just by what we drained. And we're almost there. Looks like we did a better job this time not making a mess. Now let's go ahead and grab our funnel. Put our dipstick back in. And doing a quick check. Yep, looks like we're up to level, so we added just the right amount. Looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and reinstall our dipstick and go ahead and snug up that nut. So I'm doing it by hand and I'm snugging it with the wrench. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and torque it down to 45 inch-pounds. Now for those of you who can't get a torque wrench in there, not a big deal. Just make sure it's nice and snug. And of course, we'll go for our last test drive. We're going to go for about, I don't know, about 20 minutes. And we're going to go on the interstate and back. And chimney back under the vehicle, check for leaks. Looks like everything looks pretty good. No drops left behind. That's a great sign. And just to summarize what we've done today, we did 3 drains total. So we have the darkest one, then we did a second, and then a third, and then the last one was a refill. So as you can see, it got lighter towards the end, and that's what we want. So now we can go ahead and start disposing of all our old fluid. So I have my old disposal container here. Go ahead and top it off. I'm trying not to make a mess. Looks pretty good. Go ahead and screw on that cap. Now the really good thing about this fluid is it's easy to dispose of. You can take a trip to your local auto parts store, and right in the back they have this container where you can go and dispose of your motor oil, transmission fluid, power steering fluid, your gear oil, just pretty much all of those. So you can mix it all in one container and just drop it off, and it's free of charge. So we'll go ahead and dump our fluid, sign the clipboard, and that's it. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe.